Hi there, crime fighters. Today was a very interesting In Touch, where Officer Don and Ray the DA discussed heroin and how it's dominating the conversation at the legislature right now. Also, they discussed the fact that Narcan was used to treat heroin 1,200 times last year. That's a lot. If you want to hear more about this, crime fighters, keep listening. Thanks for joining us, and join us next week too. This is In Touch.
Do you have any idea what they're looking at?
They don't, well, see, the idea is to attach drug dealers to overdose deaths.
Okay.
Make it, and you can't really make it easier, but you got this character that I have been fighting with all my career. His name is Ernie Lewis. He used to be in charge of, the public defender's office over there. And I just don't trust him. Never have, and he's a lobbyist now for the criminal defense lawyers. And when a legislator says, well, I didn't realize that there were concerns from the criminal defense lawyers, the question is, who is running the show? Is it for the good of the public, or is it for the good of the criminals? And so they're complaining about it, as you would expect. And so hopefully that'll get passed.
So they're looking at something that would make drug dealers more responsible if someone overdoses from the drugs that they provided.
Right.
So that's what they're trying to do.
That's what they're trying to do, and the defense lawyers don't like it. And if the criminal defense lawyers don't like it, it's probably pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's that. You know, we have had last year 44 heroin-related overdose deaths. And I'll tell you something. I listened to the fire department. We did something called Leadership Lexington, which is a group of maybe 50 young, mostly young, leaders in the community who, and we had the guy from the fire department come in, an assistant chief Hoskins.
Okay.
And he said that we were talking about Narcan. Now, you know what Narcan is?
Yes, it's like the antidote to heroin.
Yeah, it reacts on the same brain receptors as heroin, and it stops the effect of heroin for a period of time. He said they injected Narcan over 1,200 times last year. Think about that. That's the significant percentage of those people probably would have died from an overdose.
Okay, so possession of heroin is a felony, correct?
Uh-huh.
So if someone ODs on heroin and the fire department injects him with this drug, is that reported to the police so that person can be charged with possession? Do you know they possessed it because they had it in their veins?
Well, this is really what we call a slippery slope.
Okay, why is that?
Because what we're doing now is we've decided that saving a life is more important than criminal prosecution. We try to do that.
Yeah. But as a routine, I remember as a police officer, they would roll their eyes up if you brought a case, and you said, well, I want to charge them with possession of heroin because they OD'd on it. They obviously possessed it. That doesn't work. That's always aggravated me because, look, here's the deal. If my daughter was addicted to heroin, you know where I'd want her to be? In jail. Okay, I'd want her in jail because that's the safest place for a heroin addict, is the truth. And if you attach punishment along with that addiction a little bit, instead of we're just going to come give you a drug and make you better for the moment, that might have an impact too. Yeah, charge the drug dealers too. Charge the heck out of them, but charge the users.
Here's another, well, I agree. Here's another deal. The assistant fire chief Hoskins also said that the effects of heroin last longer than the effects of Narcan. So remember when we said there was a movement some places in the country to allow people to have Narcan to deal with family members that were heroin addicts. And so what he says, one of the great concerns is these people inject them with Narcan and they think everything's fine. But pretty soon the Narcan effect wears off and they're back in that situation.
Well, I've heard
That's scary
that
stuff.
in Hollywood, that's one of the trends, that the people with the access and the money are actually packing the heroin and the Narcan. And that's one of the little combinations they do so they can get high and they feel relatively safe with it. And that's exactly what will happen. It really is. It's enabling it. And when you mention, I had this conversation with someone, and you know they turn it on you and make it sound like, you mean you don't want to save people's lives? That's not true. It's not. That's not it at all. Of course you want to, but you want to save people's lives by making heroin not available, by punishing the drug dealers, not by enabling the people that are hooked on it. That, in the long run, is not going to save the lives. The best thing you can do to save people's lives who are addicted to heroin is cut off their access to it, not give them an antidote for it if they OD. That's not going to help in the long run. Do you agree with that?
Sure, I agree. The issue that, well, you're right.
Yeah. Well, they turn it on you. Go, oh, you just want these people to die. No, that's absolutely I don't want that.
Well, that's right. Maybe a few. The
You're joking.
juvenile. Yeah, I'm joking. Yeah. There's a move to open juvenile courts some. You know, juvenile courts are confidential.
Yeah.
I believe juvenile courts should be open to everybody to go and see just who in fact is committing the crimes.
I'm not with you on that one.
You're not.
You're going to yell at me? I'm not.
No.
I'm okay with it for violent and sex offenders, for juveniles. Anything above assault 4, I'm cool with. But I think for theft and stuff like that, I believe in giving them a second chance once they turn 18. You don't like me now, do you?
Sure I do. I just think you're stupid.
But the reason I'm violent and sex offenders, because you made this point. You know, your daughter in high school could be sitting next to a sex offender, someone, a quote-unquote juvenile who is a serial rapist, and the parent has no right to know that your daughter's in class with somebody like that. You know, that's insane, but that's where we are. But, you know, I don't know that it's significant that she knows or the parents know if the guy, you know, if the kid stole something out of a car necessarily, because hopefully that can be rehabilitated. But
I got a story from the most ungrateful person department.
yeah.
A Colorado man who was rescued from his overturned car during a flood in Colorado last year is suing the first responders who saved his life. Roy Ortiz, who was trapped in the floodwaters for 2 hours before divers freed him, said rescuers should have gotten to him sooner. I'm really happy to be alive, says Ortiz, but I'm looking for some help in paying my bills. He wants $500,000 for his injuries and emotional distress.
So now he drove into floodwaters, which I mean can happen, but
Don't know.
yeah, I understand.
Yeah. And this guy has to qualify as, in my opinion, a jerk.
Yeah.
Now, we have another one. Torture. Torture. After a Washington State high school kept playing Justin Bieber's record Baby on the intercom until students donated $500 to charity.
Wow.
One kid said, my head's about to explode, and gave up his lunch money.
Yeah, I think that's Deanne Stevens' ringtone. Justin Bieber's Baby. Or is it maybe Boyfriend? I think so. Seriously. Anyway,
Well, what can I say?
Just a thought. So.
Okay, I got another bit of information for you. There was a big story in USA Today some time ago about all the absconders from supervision. That means somebody's put on probation. You're supposed to meet with your probation officer, and you don't, and you flee. Well, I asked the Department of Corrections to give me the number of absconders from probation supervision or parole supervision in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And they got back with me. There are 50,777 people on probation or parole now in Kentucky. 7% of those people are missing in action. They don't have any idea where they are. So they gave me the numbers. And the logical next question is, what were they convicted of? Because I'm going to be real nervous if I got rapists and murderers and that sort of group out there doing that sort of thing. So what do you think about that?
Well, we haven't answered that question yet.
No.
I see.
No.
And in the way that works is the judges are putting people on probation record numbers. And so when that person's put on probation, the supervision has become less and less supervised over the years. I mean, used to, if you were put on probation, a probation officer would visit your home at any time, day or night, and check on you. And they would do that. They would just knock on your door at 2 in the morning if they wanted to. If you were someone who committed burglaries at night and you're out on probation, how it would work is if they suddenly got a rash of burglaries in your neighborhood, well, we see dudes on probation, we'll just see if he's home like he's supposed to be tonight. They'd knock on your door to see if you're there. If you're not, they'd go find you and drag you to jail, and they charge you with probation violation. And most of the time, they got the burglar. You know, because they're like, we can't prove the burglaries, but you're on probation anyway. And amazing, the burglaries would stop. Now, if you're on probation, if you're a burglar, they just have you show up at the probation office once every 2 weeks and check in. There's no surprise visits anymore. It's not the probation officer's fault. That came down from the administration.
On high.
Yeah, said, hey, don't be going bothering people at home. I mean, that probation officers tell me that.
I got one other thing for you.
Yeah.
It's, the pastry chef has left the White House.
Explain.
Yeah, well, they have all kind of people that work at the White House. And the pastry chef hung it up because he was not going to be in the business of bashing butter and milk and eggs like they wanted into the health business. And the Associated Press, to tell you how in the tank they are for this Obama situation, here's what they said. This pastry chef isn't leaving till June. His departure leaves Michelle Obama with a huge personnel suing. I wonder if he was on that Rocky Mountain High.
Oh, the guy that
Colorado, yeah.
He
Remember legalized marijuana.
Check out more criminal justice news and views at LexingtonProsecutor.com. Hopefully Ray will get over his yuck. I liked it today because I got to talk more. You probably noticed that because Ray just got that yucky thing going in his throat. So it worked out for me. I got a little more face time on the radio this week, and I think it was a much better show.
You would.
What do you think?
It's all about you.
We'll see you next week on In Touch.